Start now. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group A. We are going to do the presentation about correlation study and survey design. Our group consists of Ahmad Setiadi, Mustafa Kartikasari, Miss Beauty Sholeha Raufi, me, Yudha Christianto, and the last is Faiz Muhtadi Billah. Next. Next slide, please, Ahmad. Okay, the first is we are going to discuss about the correlational study, and then the understanding of correlational study. The correlational research is research that aim to determine the relationship between variables or more without any attempts to influence. So the data is valid because there is no manipulation of variables, based on Frankel and Wallen 2012. And then another perception of another perception about correlational studies is aim to find out if there are differences in the characteristics of a population depending on whether or not its subjects have been exposed to an event of interest in the naturalistic setting. Avlau 2017. The characteristic of correlational study consists of non-experimental. That one is the correlational studies are non-experimental, and then this means that the researchers doesn't need to manipulate the variables with scientific methodology to agree or disagree with the hypothesis. The researchers simply measure and observes the relationship between variables without changing them or subjecting them to external conditioning. And then number two, the hindsight. Correlational research only looks back at historical data and observes past events. Researchers use it to measure and look at historical patterns between two variables. Correlational studies may show a positive relationship between two variables, but this may change in the future. And then the last is dynamic. The pattern between two variables from correlational research is never constant and always changing. Two variables that had a negative correlation in the past can have a positive correlations relationship in the future due to various factors. And then we have the positive correlation and negative correlation. The positive correlation, the correlational research can produce the positive correlation when both variables are related to the same one. It can be said that when one of these variables increases, the other variables also increases. Likewise, if the variable decreases. An example is the rise or fall of variable x will also be followed by the rise of variable y. And then for the negative correlation, correlational research can produce a negative correlation when one variable goes up and the other goes down. A negative correlation is the opposite of a positive correlation. An example, when variable x goes down while variable y goes up and vice versa. Next goes to my friend.
Okay, thank you, Payuda. So I will explain about what is survey design. Survey design is a survey research or survey aims to collect information about a large number of people by interviewing a small number of the population. Surveys can be used in exploratory, descriptive, and experimental research. This step plays a crucial role in motivating participants to complete survey questions. When surveys are specifically designed for a target audience, participants are more likely to finish the form and provide your business with valuable feedback. And then these are the characteristics of survey design. The first one, survey research is usually used on samples that represent the population. And then it also invokes many respondents, covers a large area, conclusions are drawn from the sample, and then five responses can be known directly. And then the last conducted in a natural situation. Okay, so the example of correlational study with survey design will be explained by Pak Ahmad.
Thank you, Ibu Nova. So these are the two examples of correlational study with survey design. The first one is the first one is the relationship between teacher self-disclosure and teaching style perception on of EFL teacher. Okay, so the abstract states that we can see if there was any relationship between the instructor's level of self-disclosure and their teaching style. Okay, and this research had been conducted in Iran, okay, where the Iranian EFL teachers participated in the current study by completing the teacher self-disclosure scale, or TSDS, and the Gracia Richmond Teaching Style Survey, or GRTSS. And the next example is the effect variables contributing to Indonesian EFL students' willingness to communicate within face-to-face and digital environment. Okay, so the pandemic has also shifted the way people communicate. So in this research, the researcher examined the relation between second language learner effective variables such as the self-confidence, anxiety, motivation, and grit, and their willingness to communicate in three different environments, in the class, out of the class, and in the digital environment. Okay, and the survey was conducted online where the participants or the sample had to complete the Google form. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the similarities between these two articles. Okay, so both researches have been done, and one of the design is using survey design, and the researcher applied or used the questionnaire to gather the data. Okay, so for the article number one, the method was uh, to find the answers through research questions. A correlational quantitative research study was used that incorporated the survey design. Okay, so this is also similar to the second article where the data gathering was done by doing the online survey. And the second similarity between these two articles is the data analysis. Both used statistical, the correlation and regression. Okay, it can be seen in the data analysis part that in the first article, they use the correlation coefficient and also the multiple regression. As well as in the second article, we can see that they also use or apply the correlation and regression, okay, to identify the relationship between variables. Okay, so that's all for about the similarities. Now, Miss Beauty will tell us the differences between two articles.
All right, so here is the differences between the two articles. It is about the data collection method. In the first article, the researcher using hybrid survey, which is there are some respondents who use the paper format for the instrument, and also there are some respondents which are the teachers given email to fulfill or to fill the questionnaire. And for the second article, the respondent are given the URL link to fill the questionnaire. So the first differences is between the data collection. The first article is hybrid survey, meanwhile the second article is full online survey using URL link. Okay, next. And for the second differences, it is the research findings. In the first article, uh, the in the first article, the researcher found that there are no relationship between any of the teaching style and the amount aspect of teacher disclosure. or it also means that in the first article there are no relationships. So it could be said that the finding do not find the relationship or the correlation between the variables. Meanwhile, in the second article, it is found that there are the correlation between the variable because the key finding of the current study also suggests that all three affective variables, such as self-confidence, speaking anxiety, and motivation, were significant predictors for Indonesian EFL student WTC in both face-to-face and the digital environment. Right, next. Okay, so here's the conclusions. First, both the correlational study and survey design are non-experimental study, and the correlational research is the measurement of two or more factors to determine or estimate the extent to which the values for the factors are related or change in an identifiable pattern. And then the survey research design is used of a survey administered uh, either in written form or orally to quantify, describe, or characterize an individual or a group. And the last conclusion is the use of survey design in a correlational study is to collect data respondent from the respondents. Data responses from the respondents. All right, so this is the presentation from us from the group A. Thank you so much for your attention. Have a good day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.